In the sun-scorched lands of Eldoria, where mountains pierced the sky and deserts whispered ancient secrets, a legend was forged not in gold or steel, but in courage and sun-kissed skin. This is the story of Kalen, the Desert Hawk, a warrior whose name echoed from the bustling markets of Zafara to the highest peaks of the Dragoness Tooth Mountains. Kalen wasn't born into royalty. He was a son of the sands, raised by the nomadic tribes of the Crimson Canyons. From a young age, he learned the ways of the desert, how to read the stars for direction, how to find water where none seemed to exist, and how to move with the silence of a shadow. His skin, the rich color of the fertile earth, was a testament to his bond with the land he swore to protect. His training was unorthodox. While other young warriors sparred with swords, Kalen learned to fight with a curved scimitar, a blade as swift and deadly as a viper's strike. He mastered the spear and the bow, his aim so true he could split a falling leaf from 100 paces. But his greatest weapon was his mind. He studied the beasts of Eldoria, learning their habits, their strengths, and most importantly, their weaknesses. The first great test came when a manticore, a monstrous creature with the body of a lion, the wings of a bat, and a tail of venomous spines, began terrorizing the trade routes. Caravans were lost, and fear choked the lifeblood of the southern settlements. The High Council offered a fortune for the beast's head, but night after night failed, their shining armor no match for the creature's ferocity. Kalen, hearing the pleas of his people, took up the challenge. He didn't charge in with a roar and a raised sword. Instead, he tracked the manticore for 3 days and 3 nights, observing it from a distance. He noted how it hunted at dusk, how it favored narrow gorges for ambushes, and how it would preen its leathery wings after a meal, exposing a soft spot beneath its throat. On the 4th evening, Kalan set his trap. He didn't use nets or pits. He used knowledge. He found a narrow pass the manticore frequented, and coated the high walls with a slick, slippery oil rendered from desert plants. As the beast entered the gorge, confident in its power, Kalen sent a single, flaming arrow into a pile of dry brush at the far end. Startled by the sudden blaze, the manticore tried to scale the canyon walls to escape, but its claws found no purchase on the oiled stone. It slid, roaring in frustration. In that moment of imbalance, Kalen struck. He sprinted along the canyon rim, and as the beast looked up, disoriented, he leaped. It was a dance of incredible precision. He landed on the creature's back, his scimitar a blur of motion, finding the exact spot he had identified beneath its massive jaw. The fight was over in seconds. Kalen returned not with a boastful tale, but with the restored safety of the trade routes. He became a guardian, a silent protector. His fame grew not through proclamations, but through whispers of gratitude. Years passed, and a greater shadow fell upon Eldoria. From the volcanic heart of the Dragon's Tooth Mountains, Ignis, the great fire drake, had awoken, ancient and terrible. Ignis's rage was a storm of fire and destruction. Entire villages were turned to ash, and the sky grew dark with smoke. The land itself seemed to weep, the rivers running black. The king in the capital city of Solaris dispatched his entire army, a legion of steel-clad soldiers. They marched to the mountains with banners flying, only to be met with a river of fire that melted armor and turned shields to slag. The defeat was absolute. Despair settled over Eldoria like a suffocating shroud. It was then that Kalan knew his destiny called. This was not a beast to be outsmarted in a canyon. This was a force of nature. He journeyed to the silent monks of the Sky Temple, keepers of forgotten lore. They shared with him ancient texts, speaking of a legendary weapon. The Icefang, a spear forged in the heart of a fallen star, said to be the only thing capable of piercing a dragon's fiery hide. But the spear was lost, its location a riddle hidden in a series of trials. Kalen's quest began. He navigated the labyrinth of whispers, where spectral voices tried to drive him mad with his own fears and doubts. He crossed the chasm of eternal night, guided only by the faint glow of moss on the cavern walls. He faced the guardian of the peaks, a colossal stone golem, not by fighting it, but by solving the ancient riddle carved into its chest. Finally, in a frozen cavern deep beneath the earth, he found it. The Icefang pulsed to the cold, blue light, humming with dormant power. Holding it, Kalen felt not just its chilling cold, but the weight of his world's hope. The final confrontation was a saga worthy of the ages. Kalen climbed to Ignis's lair, a vast caldera, atop the highest volcano. The dragon was a magnificent, terrifying sight, a creature of living magma and obsidian scales, its eyes burning with the heart of a dying star. When Ignis saw the lone warrior, it let out a roar that shook the very foundations of the mountain. A torrent of liquid fire erupted from its jaws. But Kalen was prepared. He moved with the grace of the desert wind, using his knowledge of the terrain to his advantage, ducking behind rock formations and using steam vents to obscure his position. This was a battle of endurance and strategy. Kalen couldn't match the dragon's raw power. He had to be smarter. He darted in and out, his scimitar deflecting claws the size of boulders, while he looked for an opening. He remembered the ancient texts. A dragon's fire is hottest just before it is unleashed, and at that moment, a subtle tremor runs through the scales on its chest. He waited, his patience a stone against the dragon's fiery tide. Ignis, enraged by this elusive gnat, gathered all its power for one final, cataclysmic blast. Kalen saw it, the deep intake of breath, the glow intensifying in its throat, and the telltale shimmer on its chest. That was his moment. He didn't run away. He ran forward. He sprinted directly towards the inferno. With all his strength, he hurled the ice. The spear flew true, a shard of midnight against the searing light. It struck the dragon square in the chest, at the peak of its power. There was no grand explosion. Instead, there was a terrible, hissing sound, as fire and ice met in a battle of elements. The dragon's flame was extinguished, its inner fire quenched by the cosmic cold of the spear. The great beast shuddered, its mountain-sized body collapsing, its final breath a plume of steam. Silence descended on the mountain. Kalen, battered and weary, stood alone as the sun broke through the clouds for the first time in months, its rays touching his face. He had faced the ultimate beast and won. Kalen returned, not as a king, but as the hero who had saved them all. He sought no throne, no riches. His reward was the sight of green returning to the valleys, the sound of laughter in the villages, and the clear, open sky above. The story of the brown-skinned warrior from the desert, the boy who learned to fight with his mind before his sword, became a legend told for generations, a reminder that true strength comes not from the armor you wear or the castle you own, but from the courage within and the land you call home. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this tale of heroism and adventure, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more epic stories. See you next time.